Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Encrypted Connections. I think it's Wednesday. It's been a long week already, so forgive me. It might be Tuesday, Thursday, who knows? But anyway, I know it's 8 p.m. and we're live, and I'm your host, Kyle. And tonight, I'm excited, man. I talked to this gentleman the other day for, about an hour and 45 minutes on the phone. We had a great conversation. This gentleman has done everything. I mean, literally everything in the world of paranormal and weird and strange. He is the founder of the Bronxville Paranormal Society, the New York State Sasquatch Project, the New York State UFO Project. Correct? Yeah.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
Everybody, this is Al Santariga. How are you tonight, Mr. Santariga?
I'm doing fine, Kyle. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. My pleasure. So, just so everybody knows, we like to keep it clean in the comments and on the show because we do have kids watching. I know my nephew and my niece like to watch the show, which to me is really cool. I love those two kids. So if you're watching, I love you guys. Um, and if you have questions, please put them in caps in the comment section so I know to ask Al at the end of the show. Beyond that, this weekend I will be going back out into the woods on Saturday to the place that I call the Big Void, the research area in the state forest, just so you guys can keep an eye out for that. And I'm going to try to go live. Last time it worked pretty well for a little while, but then it kind of fizzled out when I got kind of far into the woods. So if it doesn't work live, I will just film and then I'll post it so you guys can see what happens. That was the place where I found the track 2 weekends ago. So there was a lot of stuff going on there last time I was there. I'm excited to go back out. Anyway, let's get this started. So I want to start, if you're okay with it, I want to start with some of the paranormal stuff that you've done. I want to ask you right off the rip. Let's pull no punches. Tell me the absolute craziest paranormal case you have ever been on.
Oh man, the craziest case. Okay. We went to Gettysburg 2 summers ago. Okay, and we were at Gettysburg and we did all the ghost tours and everything. And I got some great photos of soldiers in the field. I think one is on IR and one is on UV. No, one was on thermal, one was on IR, and we had a lot of stuff happen to us in Gettysburg. But on the way home, we stopped at a friend of our house. Friends of ours own a house. It's an inn. It's a haunted inn, and it's just outside of Gettysburg. And they do a thing there. That's called table tipping. Okay, pretty crazy stuff. It goes back to the Victorian age, right? I thought it was all bullshit when I seen them. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was all BS.
Okay, it's all right.
I thought it was all BS when I seen them do it on, live streaming it, But now I'm in this house, and we were the only people staying in the house, and we were staying in the one room that was supposed to be haunted and everything, which was the nicest room in the whole joint. But we were staying in there, and when the my friends of mine came in with the table, they have like 3 tables. One tips, one actually levitates off the ground, and one dances. All right. So we were using the table that tips. So when they come in, they're carrying the table. First thing my wife does is look underneath to see if there's any wires, right? But there's no wires. So there's like six of us around the table with your fingers on the table. And what they tell you to do is the guy who leads it, he's like a psychic, and he calls the name. I forgot the table had a name. He called the name, and then he brought to bring the energy up on the table. And then he tells you, he says, ask a question, but in your head. The table can hear you. I don't want to. Nobody out. You're not supposed to say it out loud, so nobody knows what you're saying. And I'm like, okay. So we got our hands on the table, and I said, okay, if my mother's here, tip, and the table tipped to me. Nobody knew when I asked that question. So the table just tipped. It's like, okay. And then I was like, I'm going through a whole list of family members, you know, and the table's tipping, the table's tipping. And he's like, the table started going like this. He said, you got two family members fighting to come through. They're fighting each other to come through. So my cousin Billy comes through, and I said, "Is this Billy?" And he tips, and then the psychic says, "I'm getting I'm getting the name Anthony, and he's telling you to go F yourself." All right. So, and it's funny because I asked Billy in my head, are you with Anthony, or is Anthony somewhere else? You know what I mean? I don't know which way my cousin Anthony went. He had a mean streak to him. He had a dark side, and I really wasn't sure. As a matter of fact, my cousin Anthony was living in Florida, and he was sleeping on the couch at his house in Florida, and he woke up and he seen the Grim Reaper staring at him. And he says to the Grim Reaper, he goes, you know, who are you here for? You know, and because he was there with my other cousin Tony, that were living in Florida at the time, and they're both these guys were bad guys. You know what I mean? They were tough guys, and they did a lot of bad things. And so I said, I said to Billy, "Are you with Anthony?" You know, because Billy wasn't quite as bad as Anthony. You know, and so my cousin Anthony must have heard that and told this guy to tell me to go F myself, you know? So then, but it's funny because as I'm there, I'm like, how do I validate if this is really them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my cousin Billy had this 69 Chevy Impala, right? It was jet black. We called it the Incredible Chevy. We used to drive this thing over salt dunes down in the Bronx. We would drive and fly like the Dukes of Hazzard right over the other side and everything. You couldn't kill this car, right? And so I said, if this is Billy, I said, okay, this is Billy. The Incredible Chevy, that was a great car, right? And it tipped. And I said, yeah, what color was that again? I'm saying this in my head. Oh, yeah, what color was that? That was blue, right? The table didn't tip. I said, no, that car was red. The table didn't tip. I said, oh, yeah, that car was black, and the table tipped. Okay. Now my cousin Anthony comes through, and my cousin Anthony had this killer Trans Am. I mean, it had a Corvette engine. It was a beast, just a beast. So I do the same thing with Anthony. All right, if this is really Anthony, what color was your Camaro? Table doesn't tip. Oh yeah, it was a Firebird. Table tips. Oh, what color was that Firebird? Oh, it was a metallic green. Table doesn't tip. Oh no, it was jet black. Yeah, table tips. So then my father comes through. Okay. And I said, okay, if this is really my father, my father had a 69 Mustang, and it was called, and he always said, it was called forest green. That was the color. Don't call it any other green. It was forest green. So I said, Dad, if this is you, do you remember the Mustang? The table tips. And I said, okay, that was a black Mustang, right? Table doesn't tip. I said, oh no, that Mustang was yellow, canary yellow. Table doesn't tip. Oh no, I said that was lime green. Table doesn't tip. Oh yeah, it was forest green. The table tips. So then all of a sudden, the table starts moving around like it starts like it wants to dance. So the psychic is like, wait a minute, this is not the dancing table. This table wants to dance. So now we got to take the furniture that's in this room and move it into another room. Couches and love seats and roll up the area rug. We put it, and all of a sudden, my father loved big band music. He used to go cutting the rug, right? Yeah. So you got six adults with their fingers on a round table that's not really that big, and the table is dancing around the room. And it's insane. The energy coming off this table is insane. And everybody is going crazy because this is not the dancing table, right? No one's ever seen this table dance. So then I said, okay, Pop, what's your favorite kind of dancing? And then all of a sudden, the table starts twirling. My father loved to tango. More than anything, that was his favorite dance, tango, you know? And where you see 6 people spinning around the room, all over the room. I mean, it was the energy coming off the table. One by one, everybody was dropping off the table because the energy was so exhausting. Okay. So that was like the most incrediblest thing that I think I've ever experienced as far as the, going into something saying, there's no way on God's green earth this is actually going to happen, like there's no way this table is even going to tip, never mind do anything else. I don't know what my wife asked the table. My wife asked the table after a few minutes, she went upstairs, very upset, crying. She went to bed. She couldn't handle it anymore. And this is a woman who's very skeptical of everything. Okay. So she went upstairs. So then the end of the night, everybody says, so the guy says, Al, you got a line of people out the door that want to talk to you. I said, well, they're going to have to wait till tomorrow because I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. So we go up to bed. Now we're in the haunted room, supposedly the haunted room. So I says to the owner, the Pam and Steve, I said, what happens in this room? He said, well, in this room, someone always tends to get in bed with you. I was like, okay.
All right.
So I get in bed. My wife is in bed. She's out. She's snoring. She's sleeping like a rock. She's out. I'm laying in bed, and I feel the bed move in between me and my wife. I don't think anything of it. I just think it's my wife turning around, So I turn around and look at her. She hasn't moved. So I was like, okay. I turn around again. I go to lay down, and the bed moves again. Again, I think it's my wife. So I turn around. My wife hasn't moved a muscle. She hasn't moved. So then I turn around to the bed, who's ever in the bed, and I say, hey, listen, if you don't stay still, you're going to have to go sleep on the couch because I'm tired and I want to go to sleep. And whoever it was, stopped moving for the rest of the night. It was amazing. And when I told everybody the story in the morning, they were all laughing hysterical.
Oh,
my wife slept through the whole thing. But the table tipping was amazing. I mean, every investigation we've done when it comes to paranormal stuff is off the charts. We always get a ton of stuff, and I don't know if that's because of me and my partner Brian and our energy, but we've been to so many different locations that, I mean, it's just we'll get there. We'll get to a location, and he says, I'm being pulled upstairs. And I said, I'm being pulled downstairs. And he'll go upstairs, and I'll go downstairs, and then we'll meet back in the middle. And I'll say, what do you feel? And I said, I feel like something's dodging me. He goes, yeah, I get the same feeling. Something's dodging me. And then we'll go back that night, and we'll do the investigation. And we'll get video of orbs running away from us. We go into one room, they shoot out this way. We go out after them, they shoot back the other way. And it's just dodging us the whole night. You know what I mean? And that's happened time and time again in one investigation after another. I just did an investigation the other night, last Friday night. I went out with a friend of mine, Bill. He's a producer for KGRA, and he's a program director. And one of his hosts, Scott Allen, and his partner Julie, and we went to a location over here by me that's it's a Victorian house. It's called Miss Fanny's Victorian Party House, and it's been on a ton of TV shows. Everybody's been there. Anybody who's anybody. I've been in his house 2 or 3 times, and we've always had crazy experiences there. And so I'm not going to name names, but one of the people who was with us was very skeptical of the house. So I said, well, let's just go and see what happens. So we go in, and we're filming, we're doing our investigation, and we were doing the Estes experiment. And they were upstairs on the 2nd floor with a walkie-talkie, and I was downstairs in the seance room with a walkie-talkie because we didn't have a DVR so they couldn't see me, you know. But we had cameras filming both of us, so we could edit everything together, so you can see, you know, what the questions they were asking and the answers I was getting. But what I would do with the walkie-talkie is I would give the answers, whatever I got, whatever I heard, I'd give over, and they could hear it in real time, you know. So I do this for like, I felt like an hour. At one point, I felt like I was in a vortex of energy just spinning around me. And I'm hearing women talking and children talking and men talking. Everything is coming through at once. And I'm hearing whistling, all kinds of whistling. And all night long, we were hearing whistling in the house. It was crazy. And
audibly, right?
Yeah, no, but with audibly, we would hear it audibly, but we heard it doing the Estes experiment as well. And then I tapped out. I said, okay, I'm done. And I went upstairs to see. And when I got upstairs, everybody was going crazy because apparently all the questions that they asked, I was answering them all correctly, you know. And I was just saying what I heard. You know what I mean? I don't know what the hell they were saying. They were two
Right.
stories above me.
Right.
But then we had this again. The seance room was very, very, very active. Then I was being pulled into the seance room all night, and we had a REM pod in there, and the REM pod would go off. Then I'd get the camera ready to film the REM pod going off, and it would stop. So I don't claim to be psychic by any stretch of the imagination, but the other two people that were with me are psychics. So I said, I don't know what you guys are feeling, but I'm getting the feeling that this is a small child playing with us. You know what I mean? And they were like, yeah, that's what we're feeling too. And they're like, are you a psychic? And I'm like, no, I'm not a psychic, you know, but that's the energy I was feeling. And then we went into the living room, and we were doing, we were asking questions with a pendulum, quartz pendulum. And the pendulum we had two pendulums going at once, and the pendulums were going crazy. I never seen my pendulum do this before. I mean, it was spinning so fast and so hard that I thought it was going to go flying out of my hand. And we were getting them both to do the same thing, like clockwise if it's yes, counterclockwise if it's no, north and south for this, east and west for that. And they were both doing the same thing as we were asking the questions. Then we broke out dowsing rods, okay? And we were doing the dowsing rods. And again, this time we had 3 sets of dowsing rods going. And what I did with mine was I sprayed the tips with glow paint. So when you hit it with a UV light, it pops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're filming in the dark, you can see those things moving, you know?
Sure.
And because I was using the UV, I was going ultraviolet at that point, full spectrum, and you can see these dowsing rods spinning like helicopter tops. They were just like out of control. I mean, and it was great to see like all 3 of them cross for yes, open for no, just all kinds of stuff going on. I was upstairs in one of the bedrooms. There's like the master bedroom is really haunted, and I had put one of these little cat toys on a ball that lights up when you rolls.
Yeah.
I put it on the right side of the bed next to a EMF meter, and we had a camera filming it. And I also I went around the house and I hung up all these little jingle bells just to see if I can get anything to ring the bells. You know what I mean? Because if they're jingling the bell, it doesn't matter where you are in the house. You can hear that jingle bell, you know? And so I hung up bells, all little jingle bells up all over the house. Didn't get any jingles that night. But when I also set up a laser grid on the wall, okay, in the same room with the cat toy. Bill came down at one point and said, the laser grid is dead. You got to put a new battery in it. I was like, that's impossible. I was just in there like 2 minutes ago. These batteries last like a half hour each, you know? He said, well, I was just in there. The battery's dead. So I go in and I put a new battery in, and I noticed that the cat ball is not on the right side of the bed anymore. It's all the way on the left side by the pillow. So I took the ball and I moved it to the front of the bed to see if it would move again. But we haven't gone over all that video yet, so I don't know if the ball actually lit up when it was moved. But one thing we did catch on the video was me setting up the laser grid, right?
Yeah.
You see me setting up the laser grid. You see me putting the EMF meter down, and and the cap ball down. The laser grid was the last thing I did. As soon as I set that laser grid down, from behind the camera, you hear someone go, like they were not happy that the laser grid went up, and the camera was filming behind the laser grid. Before I could before I could leave the room, I was messing with the little cap ball. The laser grid lost 50% of its power, but I didn't notice it when I was in there. And as I walked out the door, the laser grid went dead. It was on for like 2 minutes. It died in 2 minutes when the batteries average a half hour each. So whatever was behind the camera killed that laser grid because it didn't want to show up on the camera that was filming.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
it's crazy. I mean,
crazy.
we haven't even gone through a tenth of the footage that we have. You know what I mean? That's just stuff that just happened in real time. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a little about that the other day. And I mean, let's the cat ball on the bed. It's not like it's on a hard surface. It's on a soft bed. It is not easy. That thing's not going to roll around on a bed like it maybe could on an uneven floor.
Right. And you know, and the reason I moved it from the pillow to the front of the bed because there was 4 of us investigating, and we were all over the house at all times. But this particular bedroom has like $1 million in it. It's creepy as hell. And but it has like benches, like, you know, the kind of benches that you would sit on in a bedroom to put your shoes on, like for women. But they have like 3 or 4 of them in the bedroom. So I thought maybe someone sat on the bed and the ball rolled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure. But then, like, when we were up there later on, and we were like, well, why would anybody sit on the bed when they have all these benches around the whole room to sit on, you know? And I was like, no, I don't know if anyone did because I wasn't here. I didn't see the ball move, so I don't know. We did debunk a couple of things, though. In that particular bedroom, they had a master bathroom, and the door was closed. And again, there was a chair or a bench in front of the door. And in the video, you seen the light go on in the bathroom once or twice. And we were like, whoa, we know there's nobody in that bathroom, you know? So I called the woman who owns the house. And I says, is there another entrance to that bathroom, or is that just for the master bedroom? And she said, no, there is another entrance in the hallway. And, you know, maybe my husband or my daughter was in there while you guys were filming. So we debunked that. We also debunked something that we were doing when we were doing the Estes experiment with the walkie-talkie. In the beginning, we had the REM pod still on, and every time I tested the walkie-talkie, the REM pod would go crazy. So at first they thought the REM pod was just going crazy because we were getting ready to do the Estes experiment. But I said, no, it's the walkie-talkie. So we had to shut that off. So we debunked a few things, you know what I mean? Because we want to keep everything on the up and up, you know?
Yeah, which is super important too. I think that when you don't see people who are trying to debunk things and they just start, you know, everything is something paranormal. At that point, I think it's just, you know, people trying to sensationalize something and you know, because not everything can be paranormal, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I guess it depends. Yeah. I guess it depends. But if you're trying to debunk things, it obviously, you know, it looks good for you anyway. Period. You know, it makes you look like, okay, these guys aren't out there just trying to have one of those shows like they may have on TV where they, you know, everything is just so terrible and so ghostly, and you know, I don't know how it's possible that every single time they go somewhere and every place they go that they're catching, you know, paranormal evidence. But
yeah, no, I mean, we always debunk our own evidence if we you know, because we again, there's, put it this way, 90% of the stuff we have, and I have like a zillion photographs from a million different locations, gets thrown in a box. Only the best of the best gets put on the website or on the pages, because I'm not one of those people who puts every little thing of pareidolia up on the TV, up on the page, and circles. This is this and this is that. No, it's got to be rock solid. We throw so much stuff. We put not, I don't want to say we throw it away, but we put so much stuff in storage because I used to be a photographer. I went to school for photography. So if it doesn't pass my judgment, it doesn't go up. You know what I mean? I'm like, nope, I don't like that. No, it's not going up. And but we do like when we were in the seance room. In one of the photographs, no, one of the videos, there's this red light on the wall above the REM pod, and we're trying to debunk it. Is that red light from the REM pod? And I go, no, the little circle on the wall, it's about that big, is from the red light on the REM pod. That other thing that is like 4 feet long and 2 feet wide, this big red thing, is not from the REM pod. We don't know where this red light came from. So I called a homeowner. I said, do you have anything that turns red at a certain time that may go off over the fireplace? And she looked at me like, what are you, crazy? No. Why? I said, well, because we got this red light, we don't know what it is, over the fireplace, but it only was there for like a minute or two, and then it went away and it never came back. And she says, no, I have nothing that flashes red in that room. Absolutely not. So we don't know what that thing is. It's creepy. It's a creepy looking thing, man. It's just crazy.
Well, yeah, red light shows up on a fireplace in my house. I'm freaking out.
Yeah, but it's just not even a normal red light. It looks like a waterfall of red light. It's crazy. It's just very, very weird looking. You know what I mean?
I gotta go with you on one of these, man.
Absolutely.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I'm all ears.
Harvest Mary Moon in the chat. She wants to know: are you scared at any point in an investigation if you'll get an attachment from an evil spirit?
No, I never go on any investigation or any expedition or anything with subconscious fear. If I have subconscious fear, I don't go. We vet every single one of our members when we go out through our psychic. If she says they can't go because they have subconscious fear, they stay home, because I don't want to be the reason why somebody brings something dark home with them. As a matter of fact, that's a great question. As a matter of fact, we were doing we were doing an ancient stone chamber investigation one time in Putnam County, and I had my psychic read not only my team, but we had some guests coming with us. So I like to invite people who are not part of the team, who have nothing to, lie about. You know what I mean? They're not lying for us. They got no dog in the fight. And she said to me, she was going down the line, she says, 2 guys can't go. They're both very, very tall guys. Neither one of them can't go because they have subconscious fear. And what's waiting for you guys in those chambers is not attached to the chambers. It's attached to the land. And because I said, well, can't these guys just come and stay across the street and take photographs? And she said, no, because if this thing sees their subconscious fear, it will definitely attach to one of the 2. So they can't go. And we had to leave, we leave people behind. When my psychic says this one can't go or that one can't go because of one reason or another, we've done bigfooting expeditions where the psychic said this guy can't go. I had a cameraman. It was like my backup cameraman. And I was like, I'm not taking this guy. I'm taking that guy. And she goes, he can't go. And I was like, why? He's got bad energy. I said, what do you mean? She says, the Squatches will not like him, and something bad may happen to him that night. He can't go. So I was like, sorry, dude, I guess I got to work the camera. You can't go. And he was like, what do you mean I can't go? I was like, you can't go. My psychic is telling me you have some kind of bad energy, and the Squatches will go off on you or something, and I can't be responsible for you getting hurt. You know what I mean? You can't go. And he never went. We just wouldn't let him go.
Yeah, listen, guys, that was a great question.
And I've had 2 attachments, just so you know. I've had 2 attachments.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Well, one was at we were doing the Letchworth Village Insane Asylum investigation. Okay.
Oh wow.
We were down at Letchworth and we were doing the investigation. And we ran into the security guard, and the security guard said, "You have to go to the cemetery. The cemetery is off the hook." I was there patrolling one night, and 4 beams of light came out of the ground. I don't know what they were. I wasn't hanging around to find out. I got out of it. You guys got to go there. So we said, okay, we'll go. So me and my partner Brian go. It was mid-November, and we thought we were going to a regular cemetery, any cemetery that you see in the city that you can drive through with headstones and all of this stuff. This cemetery was in the middle of the woods. No signs for it, no place to park for it, just in the middle of it. So we didn't have any survival knives on us or machetes or just pepper spray. You know what I mean? Because we thought we were going to a regular cemetery in the city. And we get there, we go into the woods, we do a day-night thing. We get there, and all the burial sites are on a hill going up. No headstones, just crosses with numbers on them, right? So it was very, very creepy. Giant monument in the front, I would say, was a solid 6 by 4 feet high on top of a stone. Maybe it was 6 by 7 because it was so high on a stone, with all the names of all the buried. And we're walking around and we're doing. I always like to do a day-night investigation. I like to get there during the day, see what I'm dealing with, and then stay till night. And we're walking around, we're doing our stuff, and we're being pulled away from the cemetery and deeper into the woods. And we're going deeper and deeper into the woods. And my partner Brian turns to me, and I feel like something has attached itself to me. Okay, but I don't think I'm acting any different or talking any different, or I feel like I'm being me. I feel a different energy attached, but I'm not saying. And my partner Brian says, "Dude, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You don't look like you." And I'm like, "Who do I look like?" And he goes, "You don't sound like you." I go, "Well, who do I sound like?" He goes, "You're not even acting like you." I go, "Brian, who am I acting like, And we were walking around this place, and it was a creep. Even during the day, it was creepy, man, right? And then as we were leaving, all of a sudden I was being pulled into the woods to our left. And I'm being pulled into the woods with all these giant rocks and everything. And I'm being pulled into the woods, and we come upon this structure. And the only way I could describe it is it looks like an umbrella that's opened, but without the skin, okay? And you got trees that are 40, 50 feet long, a foot, 2 feet in diameter, wedged up into a giant oak tree, and they're going around in a circle, and they're a solid 8 feet off the ground. We can't touch them. And we're looking at this stuff and like, what in God's name has the strength to do this, right? It doesn't make any sense. Who would take all these trees and wedge them up there? And then Brian's going deeper and deeper in, and I say, "Bryce, stop. I got a bad feeling. I feel like we're being lured into a trap. Let's bail right now. Let's bail." And Brian's like, "Okay, if you want to bail, we'll bail." So we bail. We go to the diner. We get a bite to eat, some coffee, and we talk about what we experienced. As soon as I drove away, the attachment broke off. Okay, we go back now at night. We park across the street. There's like a little piece of dirt. We parked on. I had a Jeep. We parked on the Jeep underneath the one street light on the whole block with a trail, like a jogging trail or a hiking trail that goes up into the woods. So we park there. We walk in with our headlamps on. We set up all of our equipment behind this giant monument. So let's use this monument as a backdrop. We'll sit here. I got all the cameras facing the cemetery, you know, and we're sitting there and we're facing and we're filming, and it's a beautiful fall night. Man, it's like 60 degrees. It's gorgeous. Big full moon out that night. It's real cool. All of a sudden, we hear a quad runner coming in, or, you know, coming into the path. And we thinking, oh, it's got to be the security guards, right? And this quad runner comes up, stops right on the other side of the monument that we're sitting behind, literally 8 inches next to us. And there's two guys talking. And they're saying, did you see those guys? Where did they go? I don't know. They got to be around here somewhere. Let's go find them. And they take off and they drive around the woods. And you can see the headlight on the quad runner going all through the woods. And then as they come down the hill, they see us because now they're facing us, right? We got all our cameras rolling, thermal, UV, IR, you know, everything is rolling. I got digital recorders going, all kinds of stuff going, EMF meters going. So we stop and they go, what are you guys doing here? What are you doing here? And we're like, we're a paranormal team. We're investigating. And I said, can I ask you guys some questions? No, you can't ask us any questions. And if you knew it was good for you, you'd get the hell out of here. And they leave. Okay, goodbye, you know? And we're filming. Now we're walking around. I'm filming on my digital camera, my camcorder. Brian's right next to me. And Brian goes, did you hear that growl? And I go, no, I didn't hear. I go, nope, I didn't hear anything. And he goes, I just heard a growl. And I'm like, Brian's got like supersonic hearing. I'm half deaf, right? So I said, okay. So we sit back down. Now the clouds roll in. It looks like a werewolf movie out of Hollywood. The fog starts rolling over the crosses on the cemetery, right? And the temperature drops like 30 degrees. I got a laser thermometer, and the laser thermometer says the temperature has dropped 30 degrees. We're freezing our butts off, but
30 degrees.
And we're like, okay, let's see what happens now that the whole energy of the place changed. And you hear these dogs going off in the background, going absolutely crazy. And then you hear the biggest, loudest scream, growl. I don't even know what to call it. But whatever it was, as soon as it went off, all those dogs shut up, right? So Brian's like, what the hell was that? And I was like, it sounds like the biggest German Shepherd in the world, because it was deep, you know? And we both looked at each other and like, it sounds like a Dogman, you know? And it was like, but it was way on the other side of the road. Okay. So now we hear the quad runner come back in. Quad runner comes back in. I swear to God. And they do everything all over again. They stop behind us. They start talking to themselves, and they go back up in the woods, and they drive around the woods again looking for us. And when they come back down, they see us again. And I say, listen, I'd love to get an interview with you guys. It could just be audio. It doesn't have to be video, just audio. We'd like to get some, locals information. And the guy's like, did you hear what we just heard? And we're like, yeah. And he said, you better get out of here, man. If you know what's good for you, you better get out of here. And they refused to do any interviews, and they left. So Brian says, maybe we should leave. And I was like, no, I'm not ready to leave yet. There's still more to come, So we sit there and we film. And then the fog goes away. The moon comes back out. It starts to warm up again. And it's just like, it's like insane. All what's going on. Okay. So now Brian's like, it's getting late. We should pack it in. I was like, okay, it's getting late. Let's go. We pack up all the gear. We go to the car. And as we're walking towards the Jeep, which is underneath the one street light on the whole block, right? We see yellow eyes looking at us from the woods. So we see these yellow eyes. Brian and I both stop in the middle of the street, and we say, what's that? It's on the other side of the Jeep. And so I said, I don't know, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. So we don't know what this is, but whatever it is, it's about 6 feet tall. Now, we both got the Dogman vibe immediately. And it's like this thing is sitting on its haunches in the woods, behind the bushes, waiting for something to come down that trail. It's hunting, right? No, it's not a deer, because as we get closer, if it was a deer, the deer would take off running, you know? It's not a deer. It's just sitting there watching us. As we get closer, we got no weapons on us but pepper spray, right?
Good luck.
Brian says, I got to pee. I go, no. You don't have to pee. You're getting in the truck. We're getting the hell out of here. He goes, no, you don't understand. If I don't pee right now, I'm going to pee in your truck. So he turns his back. He's leaning against a tree and he's peeing. I'm unloading all the gear into the back of the Jeep, and I'm keeping my eyes on this thing. And this thing is just watching us. And the vibe I'm getting is that I don't know if it hunts this trail every night, or if it's hunting this trail that night because it sees a Jeep parked there and it thinks somebody may be jogging on it or hiking on it. But if that's the case, it's looking to hunt human. You know what I mean? So I'm cursing at Brian, get in the car. I'm going to leave you, get in the car. He won't get in the car. He's peeing. It seems like he's peeing for an hour, right? And I'm like, dude, get in the car. Let me just go on the other side of the street. Let's put the road between us, you know?
Yeah.
See, and he's like, I gotta go. And I swear to God, it seemed like he peed for like an hour, right? So I get in the truck and I back the Jeep up as closest to him as I can get. And I open up the side door and I put that door between him and this thing. And I'm watching this thing the whole time. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if this thing shut the lights off in its eyes or if it just slunched down. But I got the vibe that it was belly crawling towards Brian. That was the vibe I got. Nope. I said, Bri, it disappeared. I don't know where it is. I get the feeling, my vibe I'm getting is that it's belly crawling towards you. Get in the effing truck right now or I'm leaving you. And I'm thinking, how am I going to explain to this guy's wife and family that I got eaten by a dog man? You know, I left him behind.
Yeah, right.
So finally he hears that, this thing, it's Al can't see it anymore. So now Al's alert just went from 10 to fucking 20. I'm sorry, 20, right?
All right.
And I'm sorry, went up to 20. So Brian jumps in the truck. I hit a U-bop. I get out of there and we leave. And I swear to God, I think we got out of there just by the skin of our teeth because this thing did not run away. This thing was not scared of us. It got down, and I swear to God, it was belly crawling towards Brian because Brian had his back to it. And I was thinking, the only thing I could do is open up the Jeep door and try to put that door between him and it. You know what I mean? That was the only thing I could do. So I did what I could, and I told him, get in the truck. Let's get out of here. We got out of here. But, I mean, that time was a time I got an attachment. And then right after, about a couple of years later, I had what we call an ascension, okay? I won't go into it because it's a long story here, but I had an ascension. And I was going to do an investigation at a restaurant in Orange County with another paranormal team invited me out with them. I said, okay, I'll definitely come. So we get out there and they have a psychic there that everybody knows. We're all good friends. And the psychic says to me, oh my God, Al, what happened to you? What happened to you? And I see she's all like, you know, all like, she's so excited to see me. And I'm like, I shaved my head. Why? What's the big deal, you know? Because I had hair before. The last time she seen me, I had hair, and now I shaved it. She goes, I'm not talking about your hair. She goes, your aura is glowing. You had an ascension. And I go, oh, yeah, I had an ascension. She goes, oh, my God, you know, she's like, you're going to be so sensitive now to all of these energies and yada, yada, yada. So I was like, okay. So then the people who were running the investigation got an emergency phone call, and one of them had to leave. And the other person said, hey, Al, could you help us with the investigation? So I said, sure, I'll help with the investigation. I'll jump right in, you know? So then where I was running a part of the investigation on the first floor of the restaurant, and they were doing something upstairs on the second part. And there was a guy there from another team, and he was with me. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't think straight anymore. I couldn't think straight. You know, now we're in a building that's from like the 1800s, right? Or the 1700s. And I have all this high-tech equipment with me. And I'm looking at this equipment like I have no clue how to use it. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So I turned to this guy, Bill, and I said, Bill, you got to take over for me, man. I don't feel good. So I went in the bathroom, and I felt like really, really hot, like it was overheating. So I washed my face. I went back to the restaurant, went back in the restaurant. I didn't know how to work any of my equipment. I had no idea how to work any of my equipment. Just like if I was somebody from the 1700s looking at all this digital stuff nowadays, you wouldn't know how to do it. That's what I felt.
Just like that.
Yeah. So I'm sitting at the bar having a glass of water, trying to figure out what's going on with me. And the psychic comes down from upstairs and she says, "Oh my God, Al, what happened to you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Your aura is jet black. You got something attached to you." I go, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Something." She goes, "It's not negative." She says, "But it's very, very powerful, and it's attached to you, and it changed your aura from this bright light to like almost like a cloudy, like a milky, cloudy kind of color, you know." And she says, "I'll get it all. I'll do a ritual to get it off you." And she started doing some ritual, you know, and hand to God, I felt this energy go from the bottom of my feet, up my legs, through my body, and pop right out of the top of my head. I felt like a pop. And I told her, I said, "Something just popped out of my head." And she looked at me and she says, "Okay, you're back to normal now. Your aura is back to normal again." And I went, "Thank you very much. I'm out of here." I packed my stuff and I got out of Dodge. And I was like, I'm done, because I was so confused. I didn't know whether I was coming or going, you know?
That's
And,
weird.
and she's like, "Al, now that you've had this ascension, all the stuff you did before to protect yourself, you got to do even more." And I was like, how could I do more? I always was overkill. You know, I'm very conscious about bringing anything home. You know, not only do I cleanse myself, but I cleanse my equipment before I go, and I cleanse my equipment when I'm done, because you're using that equipment to try to make contact, you know?
Right.
And
Sure.
energy can, not only can it possess a doll or a, you know, stuffed animal, it can attach to your cameras, you know,
Sure.
your
Sure.
meters, whatever you're using. So I sage everything, I cleanse everything, you know. I'm like super duper that way. But now that I've had this ascension, I was told by you know, other people who are more metaphysical than I am, how to protect myself in a way where I won't have anything attach itself to me. Because from what everyone explained to me, my light is so much brighter than it's ever been, and I've always had gut feelings my whole life. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I ran into on the street, at the gas station, giving someone directions, and then you shake their hands and they go like, "Whoa, dude, I just got like a shot. Are you a psychic?" And I'm like, "No." Are you you know, sensitive? I said, "Well, I've been, you know, I tell them what I do." And I said, "I always had gut feelings my whole life, but you know, the longer you do this, the more sensitive you get to different energies, you know."
Yep.
Before it was just a gut feeling in my stomach. Now I get a pressure in my temple, a metallic taste in my mouth, my fingers tingle, you know, and my toes will start tingling. It depends on the energy now. It affects different energy affects me differently. So I
You sure you don't
know.
have mercury poisoning?
No, I don't. I don't have anything with mercury in it. No, I try to stay away from mercury. Yeah, it's one of the heavy metals that I don't like. I like heavy metal, but not that kind. You know what I mean? But
Sorry,
but
I just had
no,
to.
it was there. You had to do it, right? But no. So I mean, so I've had two attachments. Lucky enough, neither one of them were dark. they just wanted to feed off of my energy or live again through my eyes, according to the psychics. These entities want to live again through your eyes, but you know, but they do affect you, and it can happen. But I don't go anywhere. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything with any kind of subconscious fear. I won't.
You said the other day there's places that you won't go.
Oh yeah, there's places I won't go. I got invited to the Conjuring house over the Halloween, and I was like, no, no, thank you. I met the owner of the Conjuring house and his wife at Spooky, Connecticut 2 years ago. It was a young couple that owned it, and we got to talk, and they were presenting, I was presenting, and afterwards we went backstage to talk, and they were telling me all kinds of stuff, and I was like, why on God's earth would you buy that house? And they were like, well, we did it for an investment and yada, yada, yada. And they only had it 2 years, and they turned around and sold it because all the stuff that was going on with them. Bob Mackey's in Kentucky. I have no desire to go to Bob Mackey's. You can leave that reservation in the mail because I'm not taking it. You know what I mean? Again, I got invited to the Hinsdale House in New York. Again, my psychic is Native American, and she told me about the bloodbath that happened on that land with the Native Americans, and the Native American spirits are not happy. You know what I mean? And she said, don't, Al, whatever you do, don't go there. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story. The whole team was together. We used to do a monthly meetup at the library to go over our evidence review. Okay. And we're all sitting there, and everybody's shooting like, where do you want to go? Let's do this place. Let's do that place. Everybody's just throwing names in a hat where we want to go. And one of my researchers said, I know of these tunnels in, what's the name? Ramapo, New York. Okay. There are tunnels that are built into the mountain that was used for ammunition depots during World War II. Okay. And they're abandoned now. The government abandoned, and the kids have been using them to party with. And, there's people doing devil worship and stuff in there and all this crazy stuff. And we should go in and invest these because there's like a whole bunch of them and they're all connected, So we should go in there and do these tunnels. And I was like, okay, we'll put it on the list. It's not far from where we all live. It's an easy commute. Let's get together one night, one Saturday, and go. When I got home that night, my psychic called me on the phone. No, the next day, the psychic called me on the phone, and she says, where are you guys going? We never tell her where we're going. We just tell her, what. She goes, where are you guys going? And I go, why? She goes, I had a creature come to me in my dream last night. It was the biggest, most scariest creature I've ever seen in my life. And it's telling me that if you guys go to this, wherever you're going to go, it's going to be waiting there for you. And you guys are going to be, in a lot of trouble. And I said, well, what did it look like? And she described it. And I was like, so I sent her a picture of what I thought she was talking about. And it was a Wendigo.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I said, well, you know what? Those are the Ramapo Mountains. Those are the Ramapo Indians. The Wendigo is a Native American Indian demon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if these kids were going in there and conjuring up stuff, it may have conjured up this Wendigo, and this Wendigo owns those tunnels. He told my psychic, this is my domain, and whoever comes in here is subject to whatever I want to put them through. And apparently there's a lot of they find a lot of drug addict people in there that pass away and stuff from OD and stuff like that, and homeless people. But she says they're not ODing. They may be ODing, but this thing is there taking their soul as soon as they,
it's helping them get to that.
Yeah, place. It's helping them get there. And so we crossed that place off the list right away. Yeah. We're not gonna go to the the ammunition depots. You know, we're gonna pass on that one. So we do pass on stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's that
So
say?
yeah. So this is he's a viewer. He's a sub to the channel. He's a good dude. We've talked before. He had a really crazy experience. I don't know if he wants me to share it all here, but during this experience, he went to this place that he's familiar with, and it changed right in front of his eyes. Like one of these buildings that was there ended up disappearing from there and then never reappeared. The whole place like totally changed right in front of his eyes, he said, and never went back to the way that it was when they originally went. And it's just kind of baffled him. Like he doesn't understand what happened. He doesn't know if it was some kind of time shift or
Yeah, it definitely
abduction.
definitely sounds like either a time space contingency or something like that, where you're in a time lapse that may have been before those buildings were built, or it just stepped into a different dimension. You know what I mean? You may have walked through a portal into that, and used that building may have been a portal when you walked into it, and then you know when you came out you were in a different time or whatever, and it wasn't there anymore. Or it could have been a false what do they call that, a screen memory, you know, from an
Yes.
abduction
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it could have been either or. I mean, the only thing I would say is, did you experience any nosebleeds, any vomiting of any kind of like different color phlegm, green or blue phlegm, any pains anywhere on your body, you know, anything like that where something may have been implanted in you, any headaches or anything like that afterwards? If you have those things, then it was probably an alien abduction. If it didn't experience any of that stuff, it may have been just a different dimension in time. You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
It was.
I've never we've experienced lost time. I was going to tell you about it tonight. We experienced lost time, and we were told we were in a time space continuum, but because we lost 2 hours, and I'll tell you the story, but it's a crazy story.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like anything disappeared. Only thing we lost was time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. This was he emailed me the whole thing. Matter of fact, when we're done here, I'll send you the email and see what you think if you don't mind,
No,
because I sent it
absolutely.
to
Yeah.
other people, and I've a lot of other people. The screen memory came up, um, the abduction thing, but I don't believe. I don't know if he's still in the chat now because that was a while ago.
Okay.
I don't believe he had any of those physical symptoms afterwards, but I'll
Okay.
check with him. It's baffled him. It's really bothered him, like deeply since it happened. It's just really confusing for him. So
Yeah, of course it's confusing. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
that's crazy stuff, man. I
you
don't know
know,
how I'd feel if I walked into a place and then there's, two houses. Then all of a sudden I turn around, there's one house, trees missing, and it looks totally different. I'd be freaked out too.
yeah, you definitely different. You're in a different, some kind of time space contingency or a different dimension altogether. I mean, it's just that's. I mean, I would consider himself very lucky that he's back in our reality. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
And
kind of what I thought.
something like that. You know, a lot of people don't come back from. You know,
Let me ask
like
you a question, actually, speaking on that topic, right?
yeah,
So
sure.
it's a little off topic, but on that same path. When you talk about like the Bermuda Triangle,
Hmm.
people disappearing, do you believe that it's something to do with that, like what you're talking about, where people just kind of hit some kind of portal and then poof, they're in another dimension and they don't make it back? Is that what you think? I mean,
Yes, I
yeah,
was in the Bermuda Triangle. I experienced the Bermuda Triangle as a kid, and the energy vortex of the Bermuda
crazy,
Triangle is insane,
crazy.
absolutely insane. I mean, like I said, I was down in South Florida. I think I was like 18 years old. Me and my cousin Anthony, and we were down there for
Anthony.
spring break, and we were out on a boat, and we were on a boat with my brother-in-law and this other guy Frank, and it was like a sailboat, but we were fishing off it, and the barracudas were taking all our hooks. So we ran out of hooks at one point, and it was a hot day, and I mean, I was hot, and I didn't see any barracudas below me, but something was taking our hooks. So I said, I'm going in, man. And I jumped in, and I started swimming, and he jumped in, he started swimming. And then all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3 fins pop up out of the water, and we're racing back to the boat.
God.
And we're both racing back to the boat. I beat my cousin to the boat, and I had my foot on a little propeller to lift myself up onto the boat, and he grabbed me and he threw me off the boat, and he climbed in. And then I cut my foot on the boat, so now there's blood in the water. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm gonna get eaten by sharks. And him and my brother-in-law and Frank pulled me into the boat, and it was dolphins. And so we all started laughing, right? So we're sitting there, and it's a beautiful, crystal clear day. You can see Miami from where we were. You know what I mean? I swear to God, it looked so close. I felt like I could swim it. You know what I mean? And we're in the water, and then Frank says, "Oh, let's just take a ride," you know. And he goes, "Let's go into the triangle." And you know, everybody's laughing. Yeah, let's go into the triangle. Hand to God, I swear to God, the minute we hit that triangle, the compasses went crazy.
Went nuts, yeah.
Went nuts.
Yep.
The radio on the boat died, and it got pitch black and windy and rain. It was like hail was coming down. We couldn't even stay out on the deck of the boat. We had to go in the cabin, and the boat was just being spun around like we were in a tornado. And Frank is like, I'm trying to get this boat to go back, you know, to the south, back to the Miami, but something is pulling us out to sea. And I'm thinking, oh man, we're gonna end up in the middle of the ocean, you know, we're gonna end up dead. And as soon as it started, then we heard the hail stop. And I don't know how it could possibly hail when it was like 110 degrees that day, right?
Right.
And then we heard the hail stop hitting the boat. So we went outside and we looked at a crystal clear sun. And all of a sudden, the compass is working, the radio's working. We're still in the middle of the triangle. And Frank says, let's make a beeline. Let's get the hell out of here. You know, because I was just joking with you guys. I didn't think anything would happen. I was like, yeah, let's get back to shore, you know?
Yeah, can.
Enough on the boat for today, you know?
We did the same thing because my uncle lives down in Florida, and he had a boat, and, you know, we used to go out fishing pretty far. And so we kind of did our own little experiment at one point, man, and it was weird. It was just what you said. Like the compasses, everything just went haywire. I didn't have any kind of crazy weather pattern or anything happen, but that stuff just went nuts, nuts. Everything blacked out on the what do you call it? You know, like the dashboard of the boat just went boom off, and then all of a sudden it came back on. It was the strangest thing, man.
Yeah, it's the strangest thing. Like I said, for the life of me, I remember going up on deck and throwing like a golf ball size hail at my cousin Anthony. I whipped it into his back, you know. I was like, boom, you know, that's for throwing me into the sharks, you know. And it was hard as a rock. It was a solid piece of ice. It was 110 degrees. I couldn't take it anymore. I dove into the water, you know. I couldn't. It was just crazy. I mean, it was quick as it happened. It ended, but it was just something to talk about. Like when we got home and we told everybody at the house what happened, nobody believed us. Like, you guys are full of it. I'm like, I wish we should have took some of that ice and threw it in a cooler to show them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It was just insane. Yeah, just insane.
Cryptics, etc. with Bobby says, I've seen the Hat Man a few times at least. Are you familiar with the Hat Man?
Absolutely, yeah, sure.
Who's the Hat Man?
The Hat Man is like a shadow man, and there's a couple of different versions of him. One of them wears like a cowboy hat, has like a cowboy, one of those those raincoats the cowboys wear.
The thruster?
Yeah, whatever they're called. And he has I call him the Marlboro Man. And And a lot of people don't know who that is because Marlboro cigarettes back in the day, but
Yeah.
yeah. But and then there's another one. There's a couple of them. There's another one that wears like a fedora, small
Mhm.
fedora, and then there's one that wears like a top hat, like Abe Lincoln.
Yep.
So there's two or three of them. I've seen the one with the fedora and the one with the cowboy hat in my bedroom a couple of times. I've had to chase them out. You know what I mean?
In your
Wasn't
bedroom.
Yeah, in my bedroom. My wife has night terrors
Oh,
every now and then, and when she has a night terror, it usually means that the shadow figure or the hat man or whatever, somebody is coming in. You know what I mean? So I usually get up and I confront it right away and chase it out. You know what I mean? Um, that usually, as soon as I get out of bed and and hit it with the holy water or the sage or whatever, I have salt, I have stones, I have all kinds of stuff around the room to help protect my wife from the night terrors. You know what I mean? It usually leaves immediately. As soon as, I mean, most of the times when you turn a light on, they'll go away. But I don't turn the light on because I like to keep my eyes focused. So I can see what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? And I go right towards it. And 100% of the times when I confronted it, it left. You know what I mean? I don't know if it works out that way for everybody. I know a lot of people who confront like shadow figures end up getting really bad, bad injuries and hurt or what you call it, attachments and stuff like that. I've been lucky enough. I don't know if it's my energy or just who I am that I'm able to push it out. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm sure it
So
has something to do with the fact that you're confident too, right? That you don't that you're it doesn't scare you. You go in to these investigations, like you said, protected as much as you can, confident, not scared. You know what you're doing. You're experienced, and you don't have a problem saying, "Hey, get the off,
yeah,
back up,
this is
leave me alone."
yeah,
You
you
know,
can't be in here. Absolutely, no, no,
right?
no, no, no. Yeah, you can't be in here. Yeah, I mean, you got to understand. I've been dealing with this my whole life. The first uh, ghost I seen was my grandmother at the age 5.
Okay.
My grandmother died. I got her bedroom. I was sleeping in her bed with her sheets and her pillows, and she came and tucked me in every night for the first week that she was passed. You know what I mean?
I saw
And
mine after she passed too, just
that,
once, just once.
and my mother was a sensitive. She would have people come to her all night long and talk to her. As a matter of fact, she talked so much at night. My father made her sleep in another room so she wouldn't keep him up. Yeah, but my mother always knew, like, if somebody had passed in the family, it didn't matter if she was vacationing in Florida or in Italy visiting family. If somebody died, they always came to her. And then she would always call New York from wherever she is and say, go check on this one, go check on that one. I seen them. They passed last night, so my mother was very connected. Like I told my father said, the hell out of here. We buried your grandmother, And my mother would say, yeah, don't worry. I understand. My brother is a parapsychologist. There was
Really?
always books in the house from everything. He worked with Han Holzer's right hand man. He was Han Holzer's right hand man. He worked with Han Holzer's psychic. He was the one who told me to put the team together and get a psychic. So there was always books in the house. You know what I mean? So even as a kid, when we used to get sent to the library to get books in grade school, I was always coming back like those Time Life books with Bigfoot and
Yes, me
Loch Ness
too.
monster
Yep.
and ghosts and stuff like that, the headless horse. That was the kind of stuff I would read. And then when I wasn't reading that stuff from school, I had a whole library in my brother's room because he had
Awesome.
everything. And my sister's a sensitive, like she's like my mother, not quite as in tune as my mother, but still pretty in tune. My aunt was a white witch, and I
Oh, really?
actually had to have her take a couple of evil eyes off me over the years. You know what I mean? Growing up, I, you know, some Italian chicks that I would date. Sometimes they would get mad and they'd put the evil eye on me, and so I would have to go to my aunt, and she would say, "Yeah, you got this on you," and she would take it off. But yeah, no, she was, and then her, my two cousins, actually my three cousins, they were all took after my aunt. They were all like white witches. And they used to do seances all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they were older than me. They were much older. Like two of them were much older than me, and one of them was like the same age as me. And when I was visiting my cousins, like sleeping over their house, and they would be sitting around this giant table in the dark with candles doing seances and stuff like that. Of course, the younger guys, the younger family members who were sleeping over that night would all be in the background watching, and just seeing like this crazy stuff, like the candles flickering, dancing and stuff like that, and the room getting cold or feeling a cold chill come down the hallway when it's like the middle of August, you know what I mean? And the air conditioning's not on or anything. And we didn't even have air conditioning. We had fans, you know what I mean? All of a sudden you feel like this ice cold air. I mean, it was crazy. So, I grew up around this my whole life. So, my paranormal life, I didn't know it was paranormal until I started talking to my friends about it. And they were like, dude, that's not normal, And I'm like, well, my family, it is, because, all my cousins, we all lived on the same neighborhood, you know what I mean? So it was like all my cousins were like brothers, and it was like 10 of us, you know what I mean? Sure, so all, it doesn't matter whose house we were sleeping over or whatever, there was always something going on, So, so it was normal to me. I didn't really know that it was paranormal until I started talking to other friends in the neighborhood, and they'd just look at you cross-eyed like, nah, man, that's not normal,
Don't go on in our house.
I'll tell you what, and I'm sure I lost friends over the years because they go back and tell their parents, and their parents say, "Oh, I don't want you hanging around with him. There, his family's devil worshippers or something."
Right.
Even though, of course, we weren't and everything, but I mean, it's just crazy stuff. So you like when I told you my cousin Anthony seen that Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Who you here for?" He was hoping he was there for my cousin Tony. And the Grim Reaper pointed at him and said, "I'm here for you." And he was like, "Well, I'm not ready yet." You know what I mean? Come back another day. But he was like telling my cousin Anthony, "You better change your ways because, I'm coming for you,
Scoop you up.
Yeah. And my cousin called me up when he got back from Florida. He's like, "Dude, what does this mean?" He goes, cuz I had this experience. What does this mean? I was like, "It's not good, bro. It's not good when the Grim Reaper comes and forewarns you to change your ways,
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, pretty bad. So when he passed, I got to be honest with you. I don't know where he went, if he went up or down or stayed right here in the middle, It's like when I got a couple of messages that night at the house in Gettysburg. One was for two messages were for two different cousins. One was a mother came through for one and a brother came through for the other. You know what I mean? And they're like, give my brother this message or give my daughter this message. You know what I mean? So I was like, it was very emotional when I was done with that table tipping and stuff like that. It was very emotional. And to get those kind of personal messages, you know what I mean? Like when the psychic is telling you stuff that he doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about, but it rings true to me. I know what he's talking about,
Yeah.
I know he doesn't know my family from a hole in a wall,
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's when you know.
Cashew
says, this is crazy. I have to point this out, this because this happened to my grandfather too. He says, "Oh my goodness, my uncle was on his deathbed in the hospital. He told my mom he could see the death wagon coming for him. That's all he said about that. When my grandfather was dying, he was on his deathbed. He had cancer. He was in hospice for weeks, right? They were at the house caring for him. He was down to like 83 pounds. I mean, it was just bad.
Yeah.
A constant morphine drip and fentanyl patches and all that stuff. And he wasn't talking at all. He couldn't eat. He had to have a tube. All of a sudden, in his bed. He looks up at the ceiling, eyes opened up, looked up at the ceiling, and he said, "It's coming to get me now. It's coming to pick me up." And we were like, "What is?" Now he called it the train. He said the train's coming to take me
Oh
away
wow,
now.
he's seen a train.
Yeah,
You
but
gave
I
me
mean,
cold chills just went up my spine.
yeah,
Yeah,
I got it
yeah,
too, man. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
And he
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
say anything for weeks, Al. For weeks, he didn't talk. He couldn't eat, and then all of a sudden, he speaks about the train coming to get him. And Cashew says her uncle saw the death wagon. Really, that's creepy stuff, man.
Yeah, when
Creepy.
my mom, the day my mom, I got a call from the hospital saying, come to the hospital. Your mother, doctor said, your mother's not going to make it through the night. I said, okay. So I go to the hospital and I look at her. She looks fine to me, but they're telling me her heart is so weak, she's not going to make it. You better call your brother and your sister and get them up here right away. She's only got like a day left. Okay. My brother's in Michigan. My sister's in Florida. They're both driving in. It's going to take more than a day to get here. So I go to visit my mother every day, and she says to me, "You're not going to believe what happened last night." So what happened, Mom? She says, a little small Italian doctor came in last night dressed in white, and he showed me his home videos of his family in Italy up in the mountains. My mother was from Palmer, North Italy, in the mountains. My father was from Rome, and so she's telling me all this stuff, and I tell my brother this, and my brother, that's the morphine. It's the morphine. I was like, she's not on anything. All she's on is oxygen, and those two little oxygen things are not keeping her alive.
Yeah, right.
So I go out and I talk to the head nurse. I said, listen, do you have any Italian doctors in here that are about this high with white hair to speak fluent Italian? And they go, yeah, Dr. So-and-so, he's exactly how you described him. I said, was he on last night? And she goes, no, he's on vacation in Italy. And I said, well, my mother came to visit my mother last night and showed her home movies. And the nurse was like, what? And I was like, because she described this doctor to a T. Okay. So then I go see her the following day, and my brother and my sister sister finally makes it from Florida. My brother makes it in from Michigan, and they say their goodbyes to her, and everything. And my mother looked fine. I can't understand why everybody thought she was dying. To me, she looked fine. And she says, okay, now I want everybody to leave. Okay. She says, except you, I want you to stay. Okay. She said, I want to tell you something. I said, what? She said, I had a visitor last night. I said, who came now, Mom?
Yeah, right.
And she's like, Jesus came. Now she's telling me this in Italian, right? She's talking Italian. And she's like, Jesus came to see me last night. And he told me when it's my time to go, he's going to be the one to come get me. So she says, I'm ready now. Take the oxygen off. And I'm laughing hysterical because I know this oxygen is not keeping her alive.
Right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
right,
It's
right,
just
right.
helping her breathe.
Sure.
She goes, I want you to pull the plug. That's what she says. Okay, I'll pull the plug, Mom. No, I swear to God, it's okay. I'll pull the plug. So I shut the oxygen off. I take it out of her nose, and she puts her head back, and she dies.
No.
Just like that. I thought she was asleep because I've seen her sleep like that a million times. So I called the nurse. I said, I think my mother just passed. And the nurse goes, really? I go, yeah. And nurse comes in, took her vitals. She goes, yeah, your mom's gone. And I was like, just so peaceful. It was so peaceful. I came out of the room. My brother and sister were still in the hallway. And I said, Mom just passed. And like, because they just had full conversations with her. You know what I mean? They're like, what do you mean Mom just passed?
Whoa.
I said, yeah, she told me to pull the plug. I took the oxygen off her, and she put her head back like she was going to go to sleep. And then I told my brother and sister what she said, and they were like freaking out, She was ready to go.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm sorry. I laughed because I thought it was funny that she was like, pull the plug on the oxygen.
I thought it was hysterical when she told me to pull the plug. I'm ready. I'm like, yeah, okay, Mom, I'm going to pull the plug.
The plug. You're not on life support.
No, she's got a stupid two little oxygen. And I swear to God, I took it out of her ear, out of her nose. I shut it off on the wall. She put her head back on the pillow, closed her eyes, and she left.
Unbelievable. Real.
Yeah, and I felt her leave. I swear to God, I felt her soul leave.
Sure.
I
Yeah. I
felt it.
believe that 100%.
And I just turned to her and I was like, I felt her pulse and I seen her pulse was gone. And I went, my brother said, what's going on? I gave him one of these, 1 minute, 1 minute. I went down and talked to the nurse. The nurse came in with the stethoscope, said, yeah, your mom's gone. And my brother and sister just sat there in amazement. Like I said, yeah, she waited for you guys to come to say goodbye.
I absolutely believe this.
Soon as she was done with her goodbyes, she was ready to go. She was waiting for you to get here. And she was probably pissed that you both drove instead of taking planes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, it's just absolutely, and that's just par for the course with my mother and my family. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
It's crazy stuff,
That's
man.
amazing. I mean, now that's like, if there's a way to go, that's got to be the best way to possibly go. Where you just
Oh,
you had your
absolutely.
conversation with your maker, right? Whatever it is or whoever it is that you
Whoever
pray
it
to and
is.
believe in,
Yep.
and they said, "Hey, I'm going to come get you when it's time for you to go," and then you just go, "Guess you know what? I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I've had enough. I had a good life. Now I'm gonna go into the next one." Like
Yeah, she
that's
was
the
90 years old. She was ready to
God
go.
bless
Yeah.
her. That's
My
amazing.
father, just the opposite. My father was in the hospital dying of cancer, on
Oh,
all kinds of life support, on all kinds of pills, medicine. And my father was like a construction worker, so he had hands of stone. When he
yeah,
grabbed your hand and shook your hand, he'd crush her. He'd
yeah.
crush your hand, And and the whole time, and he was a middleweight boxer in the army. You know what I mean?
Okay, right on.
He was built like Marvin Hagler, man, and he was like,
That's
um,
all. My grandfather was in the Navy, middleweight boxing champion.
and he was a champion of his battalion, and so I'm sitting in there, and he's like, he went from like 100, 65 pounds down to like 65 pounds, right?
Ugh,
And
gosh.
I'm holding his hand, and for like a full week straight, I'm saying, "Fight, Dad, fight! Don't let this shit kill you. Fight! Don't give in." And then he just looked at me like, like, okay, I'll fight for you. And then I got hit with like guilt, like, what am I doing? He's here suffering in pain. So the next day, I went to the hospital. It was New Year's Eve, as a matter of fact. I went to the hospital and I grabbed him and he squeezed. I said, Pop, I'm here. That's what I was calling Pop. I said, Pop, I'm here. I said, listen, you've done enough. It's time for you to go. Enough with this already. Just go, make peace and go. No more pain. And he squeezed my hand, and I swear to God, a guy with 65 pounds put me up on my tippy toes, 250 pounds on my tippy toes with one hand. He squeezed so hard. My brother said, you know what? He said, look, it's New Year's Eve. The doctor says it won't be long. I'll stay here. You go home. I'll call you. I said, okay. So we had 2 house parties to go to that night. My cousin Dino was throwing a house party, and my wife's brother was throwing a house party, and we were going to go to both of them. And I was sitting down on the couch. It was like 11 o'clock, and I turned to my wife and I said, you know what? I'm not going anywhere tonight. I don't have it in me. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
hell with New Year's Eve. It's just another goddamn night, And she said, no, okay, I understand. And then I got a cold chill went up my spine. And when I closed my eyes, it went like that. I seen my father in his youth, like 35 years old, built like a brick shit house, right? At his favorite lake. We used to always go to this lake called Sprout Lake. At his favorite lake. And I felt like I was in the car leaving the lake, and he was like leaning over, waving goodbye. And I was like, and I was waving goodbye to him,
Yeah.
And I turned to my wife and I said, my father just died. And she looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, I just got a premonition. He just came by to say goodbye. My father died. And she said, if your father died, your brother would have called. No sooner than she did, she said that the phone rang. I picked up the phone. I said, yeah. He goes, Al, it's Frank. I go, I know, Daddy's dead. He goes, how do you know? I said, he came by to say goodbye. And when I told my brother what I seen, he goes, oh God. He goes, you're getting like mommy. He said, he goes, yes, you're getting like mommy. And I was like, it's one of the only, I have a couple of premonitions over the years, but that was like the first one I ever had. My father. And it was that night I told him to go,
Oh,
I said, enough pain already. Just go,
yeah. Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
And
Yeah,
my father went out that way, and my mother went out so nice,
yeah. No, man, that's great. Life is just a crazy thing, man. This whole world's nuts. The things that are around us and the things that can happen, you know, paranormal, interdimensional, like it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's all connected.
All of it, absolutely.
The universe, everything is connected. Or everything paranormal is paranormal to us in our realm, but it's normal in the universe.
Right.
There is no such thing as time in the universe.
No.
Time is a man-made construct. You know what I mean? There's no time out there. It is what it is. And so what we think is paranormal, is only because we can't explain it. We call it paranormal, but it's really, in the grand scheme of things, it's
just
all
part of it all.
It's all part of the universe, the energy of the universe. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and it's all connected.
Yo, absolutely. We're at like an hour 30.
Okay.
We're gonna go to 2.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna have you back on. You have so much to talk. You
Yeah,
have so much to talk about.
We haven't even touched on any of, like, I was gonna start off with one particular story that's like an hour long all by itself. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because it touches on every aspect of the paranormal, like everything that could happen in one night. Happened in one night,
We got to have you back on like soon if you're free. I'd love to have you back on very soon.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
But I would love for you, if you have, for the next 30 minutes, if you could talk to us about some of your Dogman experiences, because this is something that for me is terrifying. That scares the shit out of me. Excuse my language, but it does. It terrifies me, and I don't understand this thing. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
The very first experience I had with them, I was going to work on the Parkway one morning, like 4:30 in the morning, and I was the only car on the Parkway, and I seen 2 large creatures come out from the wood line. And they were underneath these they got these giant pine trees. They got these giant pine trees on the Parkway that they cut really high, like 12 feet high. So the tractor could get underneath them when they trim, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a meadow right there and everything. And so I'm driving, I'm just getting on the park, like just when you first get on to get onto the park. I just get on, I'm going really slow, I got my coffee in my hand. There's nobody on the road but me. And what I see is 4 yellow eyeballs coming out of the darkness, but they're up high, like 7 feet high, 8 feet high. So I start to slow down in my Jeep, and the windows are tinted, so I pulled the windows down to get a better look. I look in the rearview mirror. There's no one coming down behind me, and I'm looking at these things, and I'm thinking, wow, these must be Sasquatches coming out of the woods,
Yeah.
And they're walking towards me. Now, every Bigfoot I've ever seen has had red eyes or brown eyes or something like that. Never golden yellow eyes. But these 2 creatures have golden yellow eyes. And they're not looking at me. They're just walking like towards the meadow. And all of a sudden they stop and they notice me looking at them. Now, I swear, when their eyes locked onto my eyes, they put me in some kind of spell. They hypnotized me. I felt spellbound, and they started running towards me.
No.
And they dropped down to all 4, and they're running towards me across this meadow. And I'm looking at them, but I'm still thinking, wow, they're not Sasquatches, because I got a German Shepherd at the time, and when he's running down low, his head is bobbing like this, right? And that's what these eyes are doing. They're going up and down like this. Now, I know Bigfoots don't have any necks, you know what I mean?
Right,
So it's
right.
not a Bigfoot. So I'm thinking, holy crap, these things must be dogmen. They're dogmen. And I'm looking at them and I'm looking at them, and they're getting closer and they're getting closer. And then a little voice in the back of my head says, maybe it's time to get out of here, you know? So I roll up the window and I punch the Jeep out and I start to take off. And as I start to pull away, I hit my brakes to light up the back behind me so I could get one more last look in the rearview mirror. And as I'm driving with my brakes on, I can see them stop. They both stop like dead stop, and they go like this, and they put their nose on the ground, and they start running north up the parkway. And I must have caught a whiff of deer or something, you know what I mean? And maybe that's what they were hunting at that meadow, was the deer, because the deer's always there in the mornings and at night grazing, you know. And it took off. Now I'm driving to work. 4:30 in the morning. I'm the only guy on the road, and I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? Did I see what I think I seen? You know, am I losing my mind? And so I call my partner Brian. I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I should tell you this. I don't know if I actually seen it, if I was delusional. And I tell him what happened, and he goes, "You got to go back. You got to go back. You got to look for tracks. You got to do this. You got to do it." And I was like, "No, I know where they came out from. Where they came out from. There's the woods is only like 20 feet wide. There's a school behind there. My kids go to that school. Then I said, across the street from the school is 2 condominium complexes. I was like, there's nothing there. And he's like, you have to go back and you have to investigate. I was like, on a Monday. When I got home, when I got on the parkway Tuesday morning, there was a truck in the middle of the grass. And it was a New York State Department of Environmental truck, just on the grass. It's just sitting there. So I looked at it. It's like, well, where did this come from? You know, I said, oh, maybe they're stocking the creek. I know there's a creek over here that they stock with like trout and stuff. You know, maybe they're stocking the creek. But there was nobody at the truck. I come home from work. The truck is still there. I go back the next day. The truck is there. For 3 days, this truck hasn't moved. I haven't seen anybody. So then, like the 4th day, it changed. It wasn't environmental people anymore. It was a conservation truck now. Okay. But it was still a green truck, but it was New York State Conservation. And but it went from a pickup truck to like a Blazer kind of truck, right? And again, I haven't seen anybody. So now Sunday rolls around. Brian's like, you got to go and investigate. It's like, okay. So I go there Sunday, park my Jeep on the side of the road. I go down into the meadow where I seen them. I look for tracks. There's no tracks in the meadow. It's just grass and pine needles. I measure how high up the pine trees are cut. They're cut. I think it was 10 feet or something like that. And these things walked underneath them, standing up on 2 feet. So they had to be 7, 8 feet high. So then I go into the little bit of woods, and it leads me down to the creek. And there's a bunch of people in there and down there fishing, and I'm talking to them, and they're like, yeah, the state, stocks the creek this time of year. Yeah. I'm like, okay, you got all this fish and everything in here. So I walk underneath the road on the side of the creek, underneath the road to the whatchamacallit, to the condominium complex, and it opens up to this giant lake. And there you got geese, and you got frogs, and you got turtle, and you got fish. I'm thinking, wow, there's actually a lot of food here for a predator.
Sure.
I said, let me just keep walking. I'm actually walking back to my house now. I'm about 3 miles from my house. I'm walking back to my house. And when I get past the condominium complex, maybe 100 yards to 200 yards, it opens up into a giant cornfield. And now you got this giant cornfield. What's in the cornfield? Deer grazing on the corn, And I'm thinking, wow, there's a ton of food here. You know what I mean? And I didn't even want to go back to investigate it. And Brian kind of pushed me to go back. And when I went back, because My kids played soccer at this school. My kids went to this. I thought I knew everything there was to know about that area. Man,
Sure.
was I wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I found out there was tons of game and food there for a large predator to eat, whether it wanted birds, fish, deer, corn, frogs, turtles, whatever. There was just tons of food there for it. So that was my very first experience. And I was like, man, that was insane. I told Brian about it, and we discussed it. And then we were, and this story I'm going to tell you the next time I'm on, but just to touch base real quick, we got bluff charged one night. Okay.
Hell no.
And I took a picture, and there was a snout of a Dogman in the picture, and it was like almost, I would say, I call it like pit bullish kind of snout. No, maybe people with the pointy ears look like a pit bull with his ears cropped. Okay. We didn't see it in the picture. We put our stuff on social media. Somebody else found it and sent it to me, and I thought it was photoshopped. So I went to my SD card and looked at it, and it was there, but I didn't see it the first 1,000 times I looked at it. Okay. So we said, so then I'm getting pulled to this swamp, these woods that we go to. And I say, look, I want to go to this swamp. If you guys don't want to come with me, that's fine, but I'm being pulled to the swamp. But if you guys come, don't drag me off in any other direction. I just want to go to the swamp. And they're like, all right, Al, let's go to the swamp. So we go to the swamp. We're heading out. And the closer I get to the swamp, I'm getting hit. And I think I was getting hit with infrasound, because all of a sudden my body felt like it was on fire. We were 100 yards away from the swamp, and one of the guys in the group said, let's turn around and go home. I don't want anything to happen to you. We can't carry you out of here. We're like 3 miles into the woods, you know? And I go, look, nothing's going to happen to me. I just poured some water over my head, had a couple of pieces of orange, you know? And I said, I'm going to be fine. So there's no way I'm turning around now when I can literally see the damn swamp, you know?
Yeah.
So whatever was hitting me with infrasound stopped. Now, I don't know if it was hitting me with infrasound because it didn't want me to get to the swamp. If it was a warning, like maybe you shouldn't go to the swamp, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was being pulled to the swamp. So finally we get to the swamp, and we're walking around, and there's 3 of us, and we're all experienced investigators. We know what we're looking for, and nobody is seeing anything. And we're just walking around in circles, and we're not seeing anything. And I was like, I know we're missing something because I was being drawn here. I was being pulled here. So then a little voice in my head says, jump up on this big rock. I jump up on a big rock. I got my walking stick, and I moved the cattails. They were like 12 feet high. And right there in front of us is a pathway into the swamp. So everybody jumps up on the rock, and we're filming the pathway. And as a matter of fact, my cameraman, Bill, says, I'm going in. He goes to step in, and he sinks down to his knee, and we had to pull him out of the swamp. So I said, Bill, focus your camera in there. And in the middle of the swamp was a den. And in that den was a giant Dogman head. It looked like a German Shepherd head looking to our west. Next to that was something that looked like a hyena snarling at us. Was not happy we were there. Okay. Next to that, and I think that was the one that bluff charged us that night. Okay. Next to that looked like there was 2 little baby Sasquatches in the den, and something that looked like I know it sounds crazy, the creature from the Black Lagoon was holding the Sasquatch's hands. Okay. Now we don't see any of this when we're looking in. We don't see it till we go back to the camera guy's house. We put it on a 60-inch screen TV, but we're filming this. We're filming it, and Brian's like, we got to get a drone. We got to fly a drone into that den. We got to see what's in there, right? So right after we find the den, It's like the blindfold is taken off our eyes, and there's breaks and bends and arches and twists and X, and there's scat on the floor, and something tells me to go up on the ridge. I go up on the ridge, and there's a pathway coming out of the back of the den, going straight down the middle of the swamp. Whatever walked out of the back of that den walked straight down the middle of that swamp, right dead in the middle of it. That's how tall it was, dead in the middle of that swamp. Then we come back, and on the other side was something that looked like a corral, like a really, like someone took down trees and made like a corral, like where you would chase deer into it and then ambush them. Yeah, it was crazy. It was the craziest thing. And we took pictures of everything. And we were like, wow, that's pretty crazy. We can't believe we found the den. And then not too long after that, I was sleeping in my bed, and it was a hot summer night. It was a hot fall night. I was sleeping in the bed, and I did something I never do. I left the bedroom window open. And I'm from the city. I don't usually sleep with my windows open, especially on the first floor. And we got my little cat in between me and my wife. It's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden, I feel like something is outside. So I pop up, and I feel the wall that faces us, and I feel like there's something on the other side of this wall. And then all of a sudden, the cat gets a whiff of something, jumps out of the bed, and races upstairs to the kids' room, right? So now I go over to the window, and I'm looking out the window into the darkness of the backyard. And I feel like, I don't see this, but in my mind's eye, I see like a dog snout sniffing, like getting my scent, right? So I said, okay. I close the window, I lock it, I grab my gun, and I start to walk towards the back, the kitchen that leads out to the patio in the back with the floodlights. There's something out there. I want to see what it is. As I'm walking out there, a little voice in my head says, stop. You don't want to see what's out there. Go back to bed and forget about it. And this is totally against every fiber of my being. There's no way on God's green earth I don't walk out into that backyard to see what's in my yard, right? I turn around, I go back to bed. I go to sleep. I don't tell anybody anything. I get up the next day, I go to work, I come home. I go to the backyard. In the backyard, we had just laid new lines down for the well, to run the water from the well to the house, because we got well water. So there was one patch of dirt, that a yard that has nothing but dirt on it, no grass yet. And underneath my bedroom window was 4 claw marks in the dirt. Like, yeah, I was here. You know?
How big?
They were big. They were spread out far. You know what I mean? Like, they were like, I would say they were this wide apart, but like only 4 of them. Yeah.
No.
I got pictures of them. Yeah.
What are these things? Are they a form of Sasquatch? Are they their own thing? Like, what are they?
Yeah, no, they're their own thing. And I got another story that comes on. It comes after that just blows that one out of the water. But another experience. But they're not. I believe that they're from. I mean, I've spoken to psychics, like world-renowned psychics that I meet at symposiums. You know, I'm lucky enough to be sitting at their table, you know, when they present there. And whenever I sit at anybody's table, I pick their brains, you know, like I'm famous for, can I ask you a question? I'm one of those guys, you know,
yeah.
ask you a question, you know.
Why not?
And I was talking to a famous psychic one time, and they told me that they're definitely from a different realm, definitely from a different dimension. You know, what's that say?
Has Al talked about when the juveniles followed him and a couple ladies out of the woods? No, he hasn't. Not yet.
No, not tonight. That may be a story for another night.
He's gonna come back on very soon, hopefully, very soon, because this needs to continue. This, I told him before the show. I said, "You got 2 hours?" And he says, "You know, you can have me back on, right?" And I said, 2 hours is just a start. What do you mean? Yeah, of course I'm gonna have you back on, but
yeah,
he'll be back on.
Yeah, so they're from when they're here in
Yeah.
our realm, they're flesh and blood. Okay.
Okay.
They
So they
can
can
be
be
shot.
killed.
They
And,
can be killed. They've been killed. There are certain areas in the body that you have to shoot them in to kill them. Okay.
so almost
Uh,
like a werewolf.
yeah. I
A
mean,
werewolf had to be, had to use something
silver
different.
bullets or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I got a story about werewolves too from the old country that my aunt told me. It's mind boggling too. But
You
that
got, man, this is crazy.
I mean, my aunt is like 99 years old and she loves the paranormal. And she told me a story that before I was even born, that happened over in Europe and stuff. It's just crazy. But anyway, they are flesh and blood when they're here and they can be killed, but they are interdimensional. Now I believe, and this is just my gut feeling, okay? This is just one man's opinion. Don't,
Sure.
don't kill me on this. I believe there are ones that can come and go from our realm, right? That are from different dimensions. But I also believe, like people say, that these things pop. They see these things in their living room, in their bedroom, and stuff like that. Now, I don't think the ones that are from different dimensions can just go in and out of people's homes. I think they can go into a different dimension. You know what I mean? They can pop into their dimension. They can pop out of their dimension. But I don't think they can just pop into your home and pop out of your home. You know what I mean? I think when people talk about seeing dogmen in their house, walking down their hallway, unless it's come through the door, and kick the door in or rip the door off the hinges,
Sure.
which I've heard stories about too. But I think those are more demonic kind of entities that know what your fear is. And if your fear is werewolves or dogman or likings or whatever you want to call them,
They
they're
play
gonna
to it.
they're gonna present themselves as that. That's what I believe those things are, the ones they see in the homes. I don't think these things can do like Genie and blink in and out of wherever they want to go. I think, yes, they may be able to raise their vibration and their frequency to go in and out of dimensions, but those dimensions are just doorways to
Okay.
their world, to our world. It's not like going from my house to your house. You know what I mean? Because our
I
house.
love the,
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And so, like when people talk about seeing these things in their homes, walking down their hall, or just see them in their bedroom, they don't know how they got in. I don't think you're a real dogman creature from a different dimension. I think you're dealing with a demonic entity that's showing itself to you like that, or even an alien entity that wants to scare the living crap out of you that may be showing itself to you like that. You know what I mean? One or the other. But I don't think it's the actual dogman creature that they see in their homes. It's totally something else. But yeah, I mean, I've know a lot of people, do a lot of studying, been around the block a long time, and just like Sasquatches, there are certain locations in their bodies where you have to shoot them to kill them. You know what I mean? And but to get those shots are far and few between. You know what I mean?
right.
It's not a location that's easily accessible. You know what I mean? When
Right.
something is charging you head on and you're trying to put rounds down range. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Good
So
luck.
yeah,
Yeah.
good luck. Good luck hitting in that right spot. But no, I mean, that's what I don't think. I think I absolutely believe 100% they're interdimensional. The person who told me that many many moons ago, and I was like, okay, if this is you're telling me this, I believe you 100%. And the more you research it, the more stuff, not only with the dogman, but with the Bigfoots as well, you start to come across all of this stuff that just doesn't add up. You know what I mean? Like everybody, for some reason, the dog man puts the fear of God into everybody.
It
I
scares me,
don't
man.
know if it's just the the way they look, that's put the fear of God into people. You know what I mean? I'll tell you about my other experience at the house with one of those. And after that, I used to sit at the fire pit with my 12 gauge. You know what I mean? I couldn't sit at the fire pit without being unarmed like I used to be able to, you know? Um, but um, but just like the Dogman, I think the Sasquatch are interdimensional as well.
Yeah,
I think I think I think they could do a couple of things. I think they can raise their vibration and their frequency to go in and out of dimensions. But I also think that they can raise their vibration to a point where they change the spectrum of light they're in so that you can't see them. Like, you know, I can't tell you how many people I interviewed that said, I had it in that crosshair of my gun. You know, I'm a hunter. I interviewed a lot of hunters. I had him in the crosshair of my gun. Here I am, laying down in camouflage. The creature doesn't even see me. It's 100 yards away. I got him in the crosshair of my gun. And then the creature stops, turns, looks right at me, and disappears.
yeah.
Now, did he really disappear, or did he just raise his vibration to a point where we can no longer see him in the spectrum of light he's in, and just walks away? You know what I mean?
Well, that would explain some of these. Where there's a couple videos out there that clearly look like the Predator from the movie. Like you can see the pixelization.
The shimmer, yeah,
the shimmer.
Yeah, the shimmer.
There was a somebody in my and I saw it. I mean, I saw it myself after they showed it to me when I was in the woods not too long ago. They said one of them things cloaked off to the side of you, and I'm like, no way. Like I didn't buy it, but
Yeah, absolutely.
it looks like you see it. I can even see like part of the face of this thing, but it's like kind of a little off from everything else, a little more blurry than the trees around it. Like crazy, man. It was really weird.
Yeah, and you got to remember, you're looking at it through the camera lens, so the camera lens is seeing it
Even different.
with filters on that we don't have. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why maybe you're making out an outline of something, or you're making out a shimmer of something. I got a good friend of mine, Jay Pachochek. You know who Jay is?
Jay Pachochin?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's my buddy. I love Jay.
Okay, Jay's a great guy.
Awesome guy.
And one of his first videos he put out on YouTube, he was in the woods with this, I think it was an Indian friend of his, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And they were in the woods and they're filming. I think maybe Mary was with him too at that point. I think there was 3 people in the woods, and they're filming and they're talking, and they're talking about how they're getting rocks thrown at them or acorns thrown at them.
Yeah.
And they can't see anything. And I'm watching this video on TV. He's filming because he said they're coming from over here, but we can't see anything. But if you focus on the tree branch that he's like aiming the camera at, the tree branch, not only the branch that the creature is standing on, but the branch above him that it may be holding on to, maybe that's where he's taking the acorns from, are both going like this. Okay?
I remember that.
And there's a little shimmer in there. And I called Jay up and I was like, Jay, it was right in front of you. I said, dude, you didn't even see it. He goes, what are you talking about, Al? I said, go back to that timestamp on that video and look at those branches. I said, it's right there in the branch in front of you. I said, you guys were literally 8 feet away from it. And he's like, no, don't tell me that. Because I think it was at night too. He was like, you're freaking me out. And I was like, dude, go look at that video. And he did. And he was like, call me up. And he was like, oh my God, I see it now. You know, I was like, yeah, I said it was right there. But when you're there looking at it through your lens and your eyes, you don't see it.
Yeah.
But the camera caught it.
Picks it
you know
up,
what I mean? Yeah,
I didn't see it.
All right.
It was
to you.
It was just feet from me. And then when they showed me the picture of the still from the video, I was like, and I at that point, admittedly, and this was just not too long ago, I still kind of was having a hard time with believing that part of things.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, okay, maybe, I don't know. I kind of brushed it off a little bit, but when I looked, I had a really hard time brushing it off after that because it's clearly there's something there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Like I said, I think they can change their vibration to the point where they go into a different spectrum of light, and they don't have to actually leave the area they're in to go into a different. I mean, they may do that if they feel unsafe. You know what I
sure,
mean?
sure.
Someone's got a 30-06 pointed at their head, and they can see the scope. Maybe they would do it. But if you're just taking pictures, you know, in the woods and are just filming walking, and you happen to come up on one of them, it just raises their vibration, and they go into that cloaked kind of state. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you don't see it because they're in a different spectrum of light. It's that simple. There are so many spectrums of light, and our eyes see in such a limited, you know,
Absolutely.
it's if we could see all the shit that's around us all the
Yeah,
time,
you probably freak out.
we wouldn't sleep at night. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
You
right.
know, like when they show those pictures of those micro bugs on the bed, and they look like
Yeah,
monsters. You know what I
yes.
mean? If
Yep.
you knew you were sleeping on that, how could you possibly go to bed at night? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. No, that's
Oh
what I'm
man.
saying. Yeah,
Crazy. Well, we're at
yeah,
155
yeah.
now.
No, I know it's time to go. It's cool.
I no, I listen. We talked about this.
Yeah, we
People's
thought we could go
attention.
for 4 and 6 hours. Yeah,
Yeah, we could go for 6 hours.
yeah.
People's attention spans don't last that long.
No,
And
absolutely not. Yeah.
I want people to enjoy it. I want people to
Yeah.
be able to
Well, you know what? You
listen.
got 5 minutes. If there's anybody that has any questions, please
Yes,
spit them out real quick. You know,
spit them
I
out.
love
Yeah.
anything about anything. I'll answer whatever I can for you.
I know my buddy Bigfoot Lake earlier asked if you had ever done any investigations in the Adirondacks.
I have done a couple of investigations in Adirondacks. Yes.
Pretty weird area.
Oh, the Adirondacks mountain range. People don't realize when they hear New York, they think Manhattan. They
Yeah.
don't realize how big the Adirondack mountain range is.
6
Millions
million.
acres.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, I live on the foothills of the Catskill mountain range,
Yeah.
and that range alone is like 500,000 acres. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
Yeah, they don't realize when they say, "Oh, you're from New York," they think, you know, the concrete jungle. No, dude, I live upstate. You know what I
And
mean?
upstate's a different jungle. I mean, it is country and woods and forest.
I got photographs on top of a couple of mountain peaks that are like thousands of feet up. You know,
Crazy,
I
man.
forgot how high it was. A couple of them, yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
All right.
No, it's a different world. Absolutely.
And there's a lot of history out there, as far as like Native Americans and all that kind of stuff too.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. And the wild man, you know, there's a lot of stories about the wild man from the 1800s and stuff, you know, up there as well, you know. So
I live in Connecticut.
all right.
I'm down in the shoreline, but the Winstead wild man was in the northwest corner of Connecticut, where Chris lives.
Yeah. Yep.
Right up by
Yep.
him. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And that story goes back a long time. It was one of the first. It was one of the first stories that was actually published in a newspaper, I think, in the country of that subject. And they said
I
they thought
think
it was
may have been one of the first ones on the East Coast. Yeah, if I remember
maybe
correctly.
it was
Yeah,
East Coast. All
I
right.
think there were earlier ones down south. You know,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. But if I remember correctly, I think there were early ones down south. But you would think that there would have been more earlier ones up here because the East Coast was you know, settled first. You know,
Well, again, I read that the majority of the first accounts of these creatures came from the East Coast, whether it was the North or the South, and then slowly, as it became more settled, those accounts started to dwindle, and then they started moving to the West. You would start getting more accounts in like upstate New York, and then it would move over towards like Ohio, Michigan,
Pennsylvania,
Utah, Pennsylvania, and then all the way out to California, Oregon, and Washington State, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
Crazy.
Because you got to remember too, as the East Coast was being settled, in the beginning it was very rural. Right. But as the cities were getting bigger and bigger, more people were communing in one location. There was less people on the outskirts. You know what I mean? So, in the beginning, that the cities were the outskirts. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So the stories got less and less because people didn't feel maybe didn't feel so safe living out in the middle of the woods by themselves. So
Yeah.
they stayed in the cities. But yeah, no, I mean, there's history. I mean, not only our history as like the white man history of it, but Native American history goes back
Oh,
thousands of years. You know what I mean? Since
crazy.
they've been here. I made a point of going to when I first moved up here. There were still a couple of areas that had Native Americans in it, and I made a point of always going and talking to like the medicine men, not shaman, they're medicine men, they're medicine men. And whenever there's powwows along, because every year they do like a couple of powwows in September and October. Well, they were doing it. I don't think they did it this year. I always make a point of going to the powwows, and I go straight to the medicine men tents. You
Yes.
know what I mean? And I sit down and I pick their brains. And sometimes they tell you stuff, and sometimes they don't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if you get to them, you go every year, you get to know them, you become personal with them. They give you exchange numbers, you know what I mean? You call, you talk. Can I pick your brain? This, that, and the other thing. You become friends with them. Then that's how you get a lot of inside information.
Right. Yeah. Not the stuff that they share with everybody, but the stuff they keep
Yeah,
close to the chest.
absolutely not. Yeah, they keep close to the vest. Absolutely, yeah.
So where I'm at, Mohegan and Mashantucket Pequots are both 15 minutes from me.
Okay.
Obviously, the two casinos is the bit, how people know them mostly, but they both have amazing museums, and there's land here by the Mashantuckets that I've gone on to research, and Mike Long Island Bigfoot,
Mike who?
Mike
Long
from
Island?
Long Island Bigfoot.
No, I know of him. I don't know him personally, though. Yeah.
So he had an experience by Foxwoods Casino on some of that tribal land with one of these things. But I actually left an email for the one of the tribal elders at the museum just a couple days ago for the same reason that you said. I want to be able to go and ask. I want to ask questions. I want to know what what else they know that they can share, because they had a name for these things here too.
Yeah.
They called them the Genu, is what they called them.
Okay.
And I forget what it translated to, but
Probably hairy man or hairy
hairy man
giant.
or stick
Yeah, something
Indian
like
or
that.
something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, it was shocking to me to know that even a tribe that was so close to the coast of New England had a name for these things.
Oh yeah, they all knew of them. They all ran across them, and believe me, I mean, I go up to what's the name of the museum? I think it's either the Iroquois or the Mohegan Museum up in the Catskills. Um, I go up there every now and then because I just love looking at all their
Oh, it's
stuff, the
so neat,
artifact. Yeah,
man.
yeah, it's very cool stuff. I go up there and I try to go up there when they have the powwows, because then you have a bunch of different tribes,
Right.
there, and pick their brains. But I like to go up there when there's nobody there either, and it's just dead, and then you could talk to the people one on one. You know what I
Right.
mean? They're not running a tour or this, that, and the other thing. And you could pick their brains, and you get a lot of more information like that one on one, when they don't have to look over the shoulder to see who's listening to them. You know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, absolutely.
They were here first, man, and so if anyone's gonna know the
They
ins and
know.
outs of, yeah, they're gonna know. They're gonna
Yeah,
know.
they know. They know, and
And they're so interesting. Like just to talk to, even not about that stuff, just to talk to about anything.
anything.
The history they have, and the love that they have for their culture, the pride that they have. It's really neat. It's really neat stuff.
Yeah, I studied a lot of martial arts over my life. I've like got five different belts and five different color belts and five different styles.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Not Brazilian. No, I did.
Okay.
I did just regular ninjutsu,
Okay.
ninjutsu. Yeah, ninjutsu. ninja style. Jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
is basically ninja style jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
Ninja. So I did that, but I find a lot of similarities to the Native Americans and the way the Orientals look at life in
Yes.
general, like the philosophies, there's a
Yeah.
lot of correlations between the both of them,
Yep.
and and like I said, when we used to do our classes, and it didn't matter if we were doing kung fu, ninjutsu, Japanese karate, whatever it was, there would always come a point in time where you sit down and you learn the history of it, you know what I mean, and all the ins and outs. And that was one of my favorite times to be in the class, to hear about their mindset, and like the jujitsu, the ninjas, for
Yeah.
the Japanese are the most aggressive people in the world to begin with, okay, but but the but the ninjas were just the way they thought was just off the charts, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I love to get in their heads and hear the history of how it's, how it started, what they thought, their philosophies, the philosophies behind everything. I just love learning about that, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like when we used to have classes, like a lot of guys hated to go to those classes, and they wanted to just train.
That's
But
the coolest
I
stuff. Yeah.
loved it, man. I ate it up. I was like, I would hang out with the senseis afterwards, like, dude, let's go get a cup of coffee and a bite to eat, because I want to talk to you some more about that stuff.
Totally agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree,
yeah,
man. It's the one of the things that I think they have in common is that the like the Asian culture, when it comes to the martial arts stuff especially, or like even the monks, is their connection to the planet and then themselves, right? Is that they can center themselves and they can harness this energy and all the things inside of them. Native Americans were the same way. They would
yeah,
meditate in different ways, and they would
yep,
use plants and herbs to help them get to that place, because it
yeah,
would open up different places in their mind.
yeah.
But it was the same concept.
Well, they both use different kind of
Oh yeah,
herbs, and
yeah.
just different. I mean, different herbs because they're in different parts of the world. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
different stuff grows there. But I mean, they both use different let's call them techniques to get to where they wanted to go. You know what I mean? And
Right.
no, a lot of similarities. I find a lot of similarities between both of them. And I just love the philosophy behind both mindsets. Like
Yeah.
it's all about Mother Earth and the universe and the
Yep.
energy in the universe, and everything is connected. And they can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
Everything is connected, everything, and it's so damn true. And I didn't really buy into that philosophy until I had, even with all my martial art training and everything, because I was never that guy who could focus my mind and meditate.
Yeah.
My mind is always going 1,000 miles a minute.
Yeah.
I can never. But when I had my ascension and I seen what I seen, I was like, okay, now I know what everybody's been talking about. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The stuff I thought yesterday was crazy, I believe in 100% now because I've seen it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right. Right.
I can't tell you how many times I've changed my mind on so many different things over the years on the paranormal. The longer you're in it, the more you learn, the more you're advanced, the more your mind changes. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
change, your
Sure.
opinion changes on everything. I mean, I don't know one person who's been in the field for less than 25 years who still believes today what he believed 25 years ago. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, except for maybe what you would call it, Moneymaker from the BFRO. He's the only guy I could think of.
He ain't never coming on this show.
Yeah, but I mean, like, other than that, other than him, and maybe those guys down south that used to hunt the Bigfoots, they had the show hunting Bigfoot or whatever it
Oh
was.
yeah. Yeah.
From
Mountain monsters or
no.
mountain.
These guys were from like Louisiana and Texas, or they'd go out and with the guns and hunt them and all this stuff. They put a bounty on their heads.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe those guys, those guys are in the same boat as Moneymaker. They still think the same thing they thought of, like 25 years ago,
Yeah, well, good
But
luck to them. Good luck with your
absolutely.
guns out in the woods trying to catch something that is, physically way more advanced than you are, brother.
Just the strength that these creatures have,
Oh, it's insane.
it's mind-boggling. You
Insane.
can't. When I seen my first Bigfoot, I know we got to go, but when I seen my first Bigfoot up close and personal, your brain cannot comprehend
Nope,
what your eyes are seeing.
not at all.
You can't. When it's right there standing in front of you, it's so damn large. The first thought that came through my mind was monster.
Yeah,
It
that
was
was
a
me.
monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just didn't
'Cause
make any sense. No
it's
sense at all.
just so big.
Yeah.
And then even when you see them and they're so big, they're larger than life, you still have no concept of the amount of strength that they have until you see these trees that have been uprooted and the root ball is up in the ground, up in the air,
And it's
and the
shoved
front of the
3 feet in the
tree.
ground.
Yes. I mean, what kind of strength does it take to do that? I mean,
I don't know, but
mind-boggling.
I know the tree that I saw,
Mm-hmm.
one hand just doing this, and it was like, I mean,
Whipping. Yeah.
Oh, dude, the craziest thing I've ever. I'm going like just stuck. Going, what? How's this even possible?
And that's a serious warning when they do that. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
yeah.
That's a
Definitely
serious
was.
warning. Yeah.
It
You're
definitely
really making them nervous when they do that. So,
he wasn't happy at all.
yeah, no.
He
I
wasn't
mean,
happy.
because there's a lot of little things they do before they get to that. You know what I mean?
Yep,
So you
we
have
didn't
to.
know.
Yeah, you didn't know. You didn't know, but
we
you know now. Yeah, you know
didn't know.
now. Yeah.
Oh,
That's a scary sign when they get to there. Yeah.
it was terrifying.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, terrifying. Changed everything for years.
I'm
For
sure
years.
it did.
Yep. Crazy. Great. I can laugh now. You can laugh now,
Yeah,
but
you can
man,
laugh now, but back then you're like,
dude. Oh man, it was worse
Uh,
than that. I mean, it was like PTSD to a totally different
yeah,
level when you
me
see
too.
something like that.
I would say I had it for, and I was living in the city. I was living in the city and I had it for like a solid 2 years of 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, to about 3. I had a solid for a solid 3 years,
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
got back from Florida, when I had my first experience, and I was living in the city, you know what I mean? There's no Bigfoots where I'm living, but
It didn't matter
it didn't matter. It didn't matter because it's just
because your reality changed,
your reality changed. Yeah,
and then it's
yeah,
like, well, if they're there, then they could be anywhere, right?
anywhere. Yeah,
That's the whole thing. Is the questions start coming like,
yeah.
shit, like where, how is this real? How is it possible? How are they this big? How are they this strong? Where are they? How can they hide this well? And then you just start spiraling out of control.
Spiraling out of
Yep,
control. Yeah.
it's crazy, man.
Absolutely no. I mean, when the very first time I seen the Patty film, and I was young, man, I was 10 years old or something like that when I seen the Patty film. The vibe I got, my gut feeling was that was legit. That's a true video. That's
Sure.
real. That's no man in a costume.
No,
That's the real thing. You know what I mean?
but it
And
didn't scare me.
no, well, because it was on it was a video of something out in the Pacific Northwest. That's why.
Right, and it just
Yeah.
it was just walking away,
Yes.
just kind of, sauntering away, very mellow and no big deal. And she didn't look menacing.
No, she didn't look mean. No,
No,
absolutely not. Yeah, she looked scared actually.
she did. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
she did.
thought.
Yeah, it's the vibe I got. It's just that Sasquatch is really scared.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yep. So it was
Uh,
completely different from what I
yeah.
saw.
Yeah, same thing with me. I seen King Kong, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I was 12 years old,
Yeah.
I seen King Kong and I was like, I
Yeah.
think it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
man. Well, this has been awesome.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
This is
I
really. It's
haven't
been
done
so
one
much
in a
fun.
long time because I kind of pulled back a little bit from the field lately. But when Chris told me about you and introduced me to you. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
No, I
Let's do it.
appreciate it
Yeah.
so much. I really am so grateful. This I had a blast. I really did. This was
Yeah, me
wonderful.
too. I had a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Like I said, we could have went on for another 2 hours.
Well, that's why I really hope you'll
Yeah.
come back. I really
No,
do.
anytime. Just ask anytime.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Yeah, and if you come to that thing in Putnam Valley library that I'm doing on November 8th, we'll talk there too. And you'll see some of the photographs and stuff of the images of what I got and the thing I seen down in Florida. Not that I have a photograph of it, but I had an artist rendering of it. But
Awesome.
yeah, I'm doing a presentation in the Putnam Valley Library on November 8th from 7:30 to 9 or something like that on Bigfoot. So if you guys are in the neighborhoods, come on by.
I'm gonna Al gave me a whole list of the things that he's got coming up over the next like months that he's doing. I am going to put a post up tomorrow of all these things that he's got coming up so that you guys have it to look at in the community tab. And so you know where he's going to be if you are in the area and you want to go see some of what he's got going on, some of the evidence he's captured over the years, and listen to him speak. Because you're going all kinds of places and doing all kinds of things over the next few months. Am I right?
Yeah, I got real busy in October and November. Yeah, for some reason, all of a sudden the floodgates opened up. I just got invited to something in Arkansas next year to
wow,
a
nice.
seminar in Arkansas next year. I told him, I said, look, I'd love to come, but I don't know what I'm going to be doing in a year from now. So when we get close, I'll let you know. So.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I had such a blast tonight. This was so much fun. I will be back at some point. We're going to talk in the coming days. I'm going to go to the library for your thing too, for sure, because that's only
if you can. I mean, I don't know how far
it's only like 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Not a big deal at all. That's right up by where I go research. It's beautiful up there too. Absolutely beautiful. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. I know this is a busy night on YouTube. There's quite a few other shows on tonight. And I most of my views come usually the day after anyway, the live stream. But I just like doing it live because I think it's more organic than it just works out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, the only time you really should have to do a pre-record is if you're talking to people from Europe and there's a different time thing that you're dealing with. Then it's fine. But I always, when we did our shows, we always did live shows too. We never did any pre-recorded stuff. You know what I mean?
I just like,
and we always made sure we had a chat room too.
Absolutely.
I like a chat room too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I like people to be involved and ask questions, and it makes the whole show a lot better. Makes it better for you, makes it better for me, and makes it better for everybody else who's in the chat room. Someone may ask a question that someone's afraid to ask. Not everybody likes to talk. You know what I mean? They're listeners, but they have questions that just don't want to ask them. They think, oh, maybe stupid or something. It's no stupid questions. Just ask.
Not at all. Not at all. I even said to Al when we talked the other day that I was a little intimidated just because he's done so much. Like for someone like me, like I was a fan of this subject matter, right? And so when I meet people who have accomplished so many things in the field and who have so much knowledge, it becomes slightly intimidating, but Al's a regular guy. He's an awesome guy. We just met the other day, and I love the guy. I think
that's how I describe myself too. I'm just a regular guy. Absolutely.
He's great, man. You're great. I'm so happy you came on the show. We're gonna have him back.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Friday, 8:00 live. We have the Sisters of the Moon on, so you guys please tune into that.
Very nice.
They're great, man.
Yeah, I love those girls. Absolutely, yeah.
I adore them. Some badass females, Sasquatch, and that's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I love those girls. They're all locked and loaded too.
Yes, they are, man. Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're great.
You don't want to sneak up on their camp at night. That's for sure.
Definitely not, man.
No way.
Definitely not. But I have a lot of respect for them. I'm so happy.
Yeah, me too. I do too.
So make sure you stay tuned in for that Friday night. And Saturday, I'm not sure. I don't know what we're going to do Saturday. I may take the night off, to be honest with you. But I'll let you know. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you for being here. I love you so much. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you on Friday. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.